paradise, sunshine, vacation, luxury, dreams. Few things might be more synonymous with Los Angeles than majestic palm trees, beautifully set with mountains and ocean in the background. Just like many of the transplants that have filled the city's population the last 100 years, some might be surprised to learn that except for one native species of palm tree, Washingtonia foliifera, in the Mojave Desert, all of Southern California's signature palm trees are actually not native to the region and have been planted by civilization instead, offering little shade and no fruit. How and why did these palm trees become the region's signature tree? And as we'll discuss later, with many of them now over 100 years old and posing some environmental concerns, will they eventually vanish from the landscape? First, it's important to understand, palm trees are not in fact really trees like the ones we are accustomed to, and are actually closer genetically to grass. They are not made of wood, but are instead filled with straw-like cords that make them able to bend easier and make them wind resistant. First introduced to Southern California's semi-arid climate by Spanish missionaries in the 18th century, they planted the trees for religious reasons, such as for Palm Sunday, invoking the Holy Land in the Middle East, where palm trees grow natively and in many different kinds, as over the years they have developed an aesthetic that invokes mystic qualities. They also have become associated with the idea of paradise, and are perhaps more important for their visual presence than any practical purpose. At first, however, pepper trees were the main type of foliage planted in the small beach town that used to be Los Angeles. But as Los Angeles' population rapidly grew in the beginning of the 20th century, and the city started to form, the palm trees were planted as a way of creating a sense of paradise to try to attract Easterners and grow the population. Palm trees at the time, outside of just Southern California, but around the world, became popular as a symbol of nice weather, vacation, luxury, and wealth, and were displayed at fancy hotels and on famous ships such as the Titanic and the Lusitania. In Southern California though, they noticed these trees thrived in the climate and found they would even grow larger than they would in their native homes. And planting of the trees really took off, as it seemed like a match made in heaven. Postcards of idealistic-looking palm tree-lined boulevards indeed were effective advertising tools to get people out west, be it to live or just for a visit to escape the winter. Hollywood would become quick to adopt the aesthetic as well, and the palm tree became internationally recognized as emblematic of the region. Famously in Pasadena, down Colorado Boulevard, palms were planted at every 100 feet and was dubbed the Street of 1,000 Palms. And in Venice, 200 palms were planted on Washington Boulevard to honor America's first president. Ahead of the Los Angeles Olympic Games in 1932, Southern California decided to double down on the paradise aesthetic, trying to impress the world coming shortly to their doorstep. Approximately 25,000 trees were planted by workers as a part of an unemployment program in 1931, and 40,000 in total were planted during the project, covering 150 miles of city boulevards, spaced 40 to 50 feet apart. Most popular of these was the Mexican fan palm, planted at a cheap price of $3.60 each. Native to the relatively close Baja California peninsula, these were the most convenient choice. Nicknamed sky dusters, producing up to 50 fan-shaped leaves per year, and growing up to between 70 and 100 feet tall, their prominent presence in many famous Southern California centers make them the most emblematic of the city. Also planted during the 20th century boom were the Canary Island date palms, native to its namesake and more pricey than the Mexican fan palm. These became popular in wealthy neighborhoods such as Beverly Hills and Hancock Park, as the palm boasts feather-like fronds, beautiful orange flowers, and are nicknamed pineapple palms because its trunks resemble the fruit. In addition to their high cost, they are also particularly susceptible to pests and require extra maintenance, but their fullness and beauty perhaps leads you to know in your subconscious that you are near wealth and class, and that in itself might make it all worth it. Other kinds of palm trees often planted in Los Angeles include the king palm, its counterpart the queen palm, as well as the Cuban royal palm, the Kentia palm, the traveler's palm, and the banana palm. As the 20th century went on, these trees would grow taller, and it has now become hard to imagine the landscape without them. These palm trees can survive for potentially hundreds of years. The oldest one is currently planted in Exposition Park and has been moved several times dating back to the 1850s, proving the plant's resiliency in the ecosystem. However, as the years go by and some of these trees start to die from old age and have become susceptible to pests such as the red palm weevil, these palms, which once looked so fresh and new, now look older, infested, and pose a danger to the public when their leaves fall. Furthermore, with periods of drought becoming more and more common due to climate change, palm trees require more water than other native species of foliage. And the city has started to beg the question of if they should be replaced by more palm trees when they die, or if there might be a more practical option that provides more shade, blocks wind, or provides anything useful beyond aesthetics. Trees like the native coastal live oak and the California sycamore tree could, for example, be better alternatives, supplying more shade and habitat for local wildlife as well. The signature Los Angeles palm trees perhaps could be phased out, at least to some degree. But still, tens of thousands of palm trees still fill the air in Los Angeles, and you would be hard-pressed to walk down practically any street in the city and not see one of them perched up in the distance. Though indeed more and more die every year, as many of them were planted during the boom around 90 years ago, they likely won't entirely vanish at least for another generation or two. Some people, however, who share a sense of nostalgia towards the trees dear in their hearts, feel, even though they might just be ornamental, its aesthetic impact on the city compared to other kinds of greenery cannot be underestimated. Various emblematic depictions of the city, including logos, advertisements, and art, heavily feature the tall trees, as they supply little practical purpose other than their majestic beauty. Indeed, in many ways, Los Angeles has never been about the practical. From Hollywood movies to its beautiful beaches, it has always been more about dreams than perhaps any other American city. And throughout history, few other things have signified dreams more than palm trees. Just as how skyscrapers identify New York as the business capital of the country, the corn and wheat fields of Iowa identify the Midwest as the United States agricultural center. The palm trees in their stage-like appearance help identify Los Angeles as the entertainment capital of the world. The city would just not look and feel the same without them. So as many of the old Los Angeles palm trees' inevitable death approaches in the decades ahead, and the city decides what to plant in their place, perhaps there is a balance that could be met between environmental gain and aesthetic resonance. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing and check out another video.